Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today, I'm here with another special guest, Gregory Simmons, who has joined us all the way from United States of America. Gregory is a seasoned expert who has been immersed in the IBMI ecosystem since 1994, back when it was not even known by this name and it was running on the AS400 system. So, over the years, Gregory has witnessed and contributed to the platform's evaluation, leaving his mark on the legacy and the modern application. As an IBM champion, Gregory brings wealth of experience in optimizing legacy programs with the talent for making impactful changes that breathe the new life into the older systems. So, today in this episode, we are going to talk about his contribution as well as his professional journey. But before we start the discussion, I would like to thank Gregory for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. So I hail out of Southwest Missouri, which is pretty much the center of the United States. I work out of my home. When COVID started, that kind of changed a lot of the landscape of where people work. And that started me working from home. And now actually I work for a company that's in New York. So my daily life is here in my home, and a few times a year I get the 1,200-mile commute over to New York to actually see my coworkers. It's kind of cool.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So let's initiate the discussion by talking a bit about your journey to this IBMI platform. So what initially drew you to this IBMI platform back in 1994, and how have you seen it evolve since then?
Yeah, so prior to that, in 92 or somewhere in there, I had changed my major to undecided. And at that time, we had just gotten our first home computer in our home, and so I was starting to learn and be able to play with that.
Mhm.
And then as I started taking some other computer courses at my college, all of a sudden I learned about this new machine that you could program on, and you could write little programs. And this was not a personal computer, but rather a mainframe, or the AS400. And it was really interesting to me to find that now, going from a personal computer to, there were computers out there that lots of people could sign on to and all do their work all on one computer.
Yeah.
Um, as time progressed, I wound up finding myself in a part-time job in the afternoons, writing some RPG for a company that wasn't too far away, and really learned, when you're in college, you learn the basics of a language,
Yes.
but then when you actually get into a job, then you really start to learn how to make that language really produce for you, and be able to put it into production. And that's really, really cool. I was fortunate to have, at the time, the president of the company, my boss. It was a very small company, but he was a retired professor from a college, who taught RPG. And so every afternoon I had the great fortune of sitting with a professor, and him telling me, no, you need to write the RPG this way. And
Okay.
that was fundamental.
Okay. All right. Okay. So as you said that you have been working for this IBMI platform for a very long time, we all know, right? So can you share some of the defining moments or maybe the projects from your journey that keeps stands out moment for you?
Well, there's been many. Um, so that first part-time job, I wrote a little, my in this bigger application, I wrote this little window that came up, and
Mhm.
people could enter in some text into that, and I would save that to the database, and they could bring that back up.
Okay.
Total green screen application, but they were signing into our box. The customer signed into our box
Mhm.
to be able to use that application. Um, many years later, then all of a sudden was opened my eyes to the thought of I was writing an RPG that was not a green screen application. It was just a business service. And so the whole point of the product was to simply receive in an XML file, do its processing, and return a response also in XML.
Okay.
That was also visionary for me, and how we changed the way that and still today we have some people that still call it the AS400 and still think of it as, oh yeah, you write the green screen applications, right? And that's really not the case. My current position is a web application that is fed from the back end, which is RPG. It's all receive in a JSON string and receive and return the output as another JSON string. That is really, really awesome. That we have this modern UI and have a modern back end. Pardon me. That's full RPG with embedded SQL and is very, very quick responses. If any time we start to see a response more than 2 milliseconds, we're digging into it and seeing how we can make that faster, because as you can imagine, when you're running a web page, if a response is more than a second, then that's disastrous. What's going on with
Right.
this website, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with this. Like specifically for those websites and web pages, if it is taking too much time, then people don't have that much of time. They easily switch or navigate to other options. So that's a for
Right.
sure a big challenge for everyone. Okay, so if we talk about the optimizing of the legacy program, because you have mostly worked upon these programs as well as you have optimized it and modernized it. So my question is like, when we optimize the legacy program, what are some of the go-to strategies you use in order to modify or optimize something? Or maybe can you share some example where a small change that you implemented made a big difference in your project?
Yeah. So one of my first projects when I was in assigned to a development group many years after my previous encounters was to take this really, really tiny program, and all it did was an input primary, and then it outputted to a report.
Hmm.
And my job was to simply add a chain right below that so it could grab one more piece of data and put that on the report.
Okay.
Um, and so the whole program was like maybe 10 lines of code. That was it. And instead of doing the chain, I wound up rewriting the program to a very simple SQL statement.
Hmm.
Um, and so that accomplished the same goal of bringing in the one new field for the report. But in my testing, the improvement of performance was about 98%. It turns
Okay.
out that reading through the file input primary, there was no performance to that. Whereas with SQL, the SQL engine was able to optimize that and make that faster. And unbeknownst to me, I learned later that while I did improve that 98%, this was run during a nightly processing, and that program was called by 50 or so other programs, and
Okay.
the process was that these 50 other programs called it several thousand times a night. So my little 98% improvement wound up being a really big improvement for the whole process that it was a part of. So that was really awesome.
Okay. So I think with this answer, it is almost clear to everyone that yes, by optimizing the things, by modernizing the thing, we can made a big difference, because the example which you just shared with everyone. So it really waking moment for everyone that yes, if you have not optimized those things or you are still working the on a legacy part, then it's time to make the modification and go and adopt for the modernization process, because it will for sure made a big difference. So
Right.
thanks for sharing and for letting us everyone know. Okay. And Gregory, like another thing which I wanted to discuss here, it's related to that IBM system only. Let's say if someone start their career in the year of 2024 as an IBM developer. So, what piece of advice would you like to give those members or those candidates who just started their career with IBM? So, is it the right time to start with the IBM platform? Or because there are some myth around the market that it is about to and it is going somewhere. Yeah. So, first question is it the right time to start with the IBM in 2024? And second question is, if it is, then what all other technologies anyone can learn along with these platforms like RPGLE and SQL, other thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely the right time.
Mhm.
I think for the for those who have the opportunity, for me, I was somewhere around 20 years in my career before the first time I had the opportunity to go to a common conference.
Mhm.
And that really opened my eyes to the community that's there available. You're not a solo person trying to learn all of this on your own.
Yeah.
Um, if you get to a common conference or any other in-person IBMI conference, you're going to very quickly learn that there's lots of us like us, IBM champions, who are happy to share our knowledge and be able to help the person learn how to use the language properly. Um, yeah, there is the rumor. Our product customers have um, the vision that we're still using the old green
Yeah.
screen, and we're constantly having to remind them that no, you're not using the old green screen. You're using the latest technology
Yes.
that IBM has, and it's extremely powerful. It all we're doing now is we're rewriting it so it has a snappy front end and get away from the green
Yes.
screen image. But it's still being powered by the IBM I. It's still an extremely powerful system. And to my previous example, when you write things with RPG native IO,
Mhm.
there's no optimization. But whereas just writing something with SQL, all of a sudden there's this whole SQL database engine in behind the scenes that's going to go ahead and optimize that for you. For instance, if it determines that that it would really run better if it had a new index, it will
Mhm.
create a temporary index for you, um, all on its own. You don't have to tell it to do any of that. It automatically does that. So the system is constantly trying to figure out how to run your stuff as fast as possible. And again, in my case, with being on, powering a website, that is exactly what we want.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk bit about your another role, which is a instructor role. So you have been a registered instructor with the IBM Academic Initiative since 2007. So how has your teaching experience influenced your approach to the software engineering area?
Yeah, so I actually started teaching back in the mid 90s. I was attending a karate class to learn how
Mhm.
to go through the movements and teach karate and learn karate myself. And what
Okay.
I found was that my instructor, as I got up in the ranks, you started teaching the lower ranks more often. And by then, she taught me the saying "docendo decimus," which is a Latin proverb that says, "By teaching we learn." Um, and that followed the course as I started teaching in 2007, and it really powered the way that I develop, and making sure that when I develop, I'm not just developing to get the job done, but I'm developing such that somebody else can come in and read my code
Yes,
and
right.
know instantly what's going on. That's really, and this is what I continue to teach and profess to my team as now I'm a development manager, is that I want you to understand your code, but I want everybody else in a quick look to be able to understand what your code is doing.
Right. I agree with this thing. Like, don't do just for the sake of doing it, because in future there should not be any person who is cursing you for your work, because you are creating an application, you are contributing to an application. So for sure, like in the upcoming time, many developers will use and they will also contribute to it. So it's always your responsibility to leave the good impression on the code and the project that you are working on. So that's something that everyone should pay attention while writing a code, that everything should be perfect, and every thing should be decided as per the requirement of future as well, so that others will not face any issues while developing and enhancing that code. That's a good thing. Okay. So Gregory, like, could you tell us more about your common application developers certification, because there might be some other person also who wanted to pursue this certification. So please let us know what is this common application developer certification and how anyone can uh, earn this certification.
Yeah, I think there was an early at my previous company there was some shyness to letting your developers get certified
Hmm.
because it does look good on your resume. And so there was a little bit of a fear of, well, if we let you get certified, then maybe we lose you to another company because that's looks nice on your resume. But what it really turned out to be was that the clients that I was working with, whenever I would email them and I have my RPG certified credential on there, they gave feedback several times that they really liked knowing that they were working with a certified RPG person.
Yeah.
That gives that level of comfort that they know that this person is experienced and they know that they're going to do a good job for them.
Yes.
As far as being able to get certified, there's if you go to common.org and start your search there, you can certainly go in and find that. Again, a product of COVID. I think all of those tests are now you can take them online. Um,
Hmm.
they still have it proctored, so you have to take your laptop and prove that you don't have any RPG books laying around and
Okay.
all of that. But you can certainly take the test and be able to do that. One of the advantages to if you go to a common conference is they let you take the test there as well, and
Hmm.
oftentimes it's at a discount.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure, I would encourage everybody to try to add that to their credentials.
Okay.
It's a real
And
good
let's say some,
experience.
yeah. Okay. And let's say someone wants to like prepare themselves for this certification. So is there any material which you would like to recommend to learn about specifically for that program in order to crack that exam?
Um, on the common site, there is I forget exactly where it's at, but somewhere in there you can find there's a list of topics.
Hmm.
It's a very general list of topics that will be covered.
Okay.
And then, yeah, start with Googling each one of the topics and delve into there.
Okay.
I see that you have some great online videos of learning some of those topics. So there's that. If you're an old school person like me, there's a book by Jim Buck
Hmm.
that talks about goes through all of modern RPG language. There's plenty of resources out there for sure.
Okay. All right. Okay. And let's talk a bit about the impact of AI, because nowadays everyone is talking about AI. So, what advice would you like to give to developers who may be concerned that AI will one day make them extinct? So, what is your thought on this?
Yeah, so I think there is a possibility of AI making some programmers extinct,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the developers who don't embrace AI.
Okay.
If you start playing with AI, you'll quickly be able to see that there's still the business knowledge that we need, and being able to use AI to your advantage
Mm-hmm.
is advantageous. I have started using an AI code assistant in VS Code, and to be honest, it has 100% changed the way that I code.
Okay.
Um, it suggests what the next piece is that it thinks I want to write. It reads your variables. If your variables are self-documenting, so you don't have a variable that says X1, you have a variable that says initial cost. It actually starts to read those. And I had a post on LinkedIn a while back where early morning I was starting to play with that and writing some code, and all of a sudden it suggested exactly what I was thinking and the next piece I was going to write. And
Okay.
I literally almost spit out my Cheerios because it surprised me so much. Um, what it does is it a, a lot of the mundane code that you write over and over and over, pieces where, after a SQL statement, I'm going to check for is SQL code less than 0, and if it is, I'm going to write out to our log file and capture that. When it sees that I've written a SQL statement, I enter twice and it says, do you want to check for SQL code less than 0, and write out a log? And it even takes the variables that I used inside of my SQL statement and puts those into the string for me so that it's formatted the way I normally format them. Um, so a lot of the mundane code that you write over and over, it goes, "Blurp, you want this?" And you hit tab and say, yep, that's what I want. Now I can concentrate on the important coding, and the mundane stuff can just be a 2-second thing and move on. Really,
Okay.
really cool stuff.
Yeah, it is. Okay. And if we talk about the RPG, so in your opinion, what makes the driven RPG such a powerful approach for modern RPG applications? So, are there any specific tips you would like to share for developers moving from traditional RPG to a more procedural oriented style for the modernization?
Yeah, so we have, and I'm sure every shop has some legacy code where the programs are, 10, 20, 50,000 lines of code.
Yes.
And even if you're making changes in those, try to put the new code in a procedure. Um, what this does is it makes it so much easier. And if you put those procedures externalized from a service program, then the little bit of logic that you've worked out and you've figured out exactly the way that the business wants that to run, that's usable by any program, and it's no longer having to be reinvented.
Mm-hmm.
So procedures makes your code reusable. It makes your code easier to know what's going on there. If somebody
Yes.
says, for example, we have a bug that's been reported in how we make a sandwich. Well, if that make a sandwich was just some littered code within 50,000 lines of program, now
Mm-hmm.
you've got a really big thing that you've got to debug and work your way through. And when you make a change in there, now for testing, you've got roughly 50,000 lines of code that needs to be tested to ensure that while you've put in your change to how we make a sandwich, I didn't break something else. If you have a procedure that's in a service program that is make a sandwich, now you have a little bit of code that you need to test, and you're only dealing with, say, 30 lines of code. So now it's reusable, it's easier to test, and it isolates your testing.
Okay.
So you don't have to test this 50,000 lines of code. You need to make sure that, okay, now we're making a sandwich correctly. Now we're
Mhm.
able to proceed on and put those changes into production.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. And as an experienced RPG developer, like what are some of your favorite RPG features or functionality that you might think that new developer may overlook while talking about RPG?
Yeah, the same thing there resonates again. I
Mhm.
see current developers writing old RPG because the program itself is old style RPG, fixed format, and so they continue on and fill that in. Um, it's so more beneficial to put in a procedure and learn
Okay.
about procedures and use those procedures. If anybody is looking to learn more about procedures, just look at short plug here for myself. I have articles that I write on
Yeah.
itjungle.com talking about procedure-driven RPG. It's so beneficial, and it goes to the old adage of how do you eat an elephant? Well, you
Mhm.
eat it one bite at a time. And so you don't write these huge chunks of code. You write these very small chunks of code that need to perform very specific tasks. The other big thing is uh, if you see somebody has written this other program that's 12 years old and it's using native IO, don't be afraid to sprinkle embedded SQL in there. You don't have to take the task of, well, I'm going to rewrite this 30,000 line code program. Um, just write the new stuff that you need in there so that it is modern.
Yeah.
Because no CTO wants to say, well, for this one little change, I'm going to rewrite this whole program, and now it's going to take 3 weeks to get this all rewritten. Just write the new piece modern and start to work the new modernness into that program.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so let's talk bit about the influence in your lives. So, who are some of the people you credit as a key influences in your professional growth, and what unique qualities did they bring into your journey?
Yeah, so my first guy is Jeff O'Brien. He's the one that he was getting ready to leave the part-time job, and
Yeah.
he believed in me and suggested that I go to his boss and apply for his spot that he was vacating, and that
Okay.
was instrumental. I didn't really feel like I was ready for a programming job,
Mhm.
but I had had the two RPG classes. But he believed in me and sent me over there and gave me a good rapport with the boss and got me started. Um, a year or two later, he was at his current company and said, "Hey, they're hiring. Why don't you come over here and I know you'll do great." So I think the underlying quality there is that he mentored me, he believed in me, and he kept encouraging me to try the next thing. Um,
Okay.
Many years later, he also then, as I was contemplating moving companies after almost 26 years, he encouraged me to say, "Yeah, you'll do it. You'll do fine. Go for it." And this led me to my second mentor, Steve Wolk, who really got me into and really pushed me to do more things with speaking publicly, writing articles. Again, he showed belief in me and he encouraged me. All of those two things are really instrumental in helping somebody else achieve more.
Okay. All right. So, like we have talked a bit about your journey, your technical expertise. So now I would like to end up this discussion with one more question. which is related to your hobbies, because we all know about your technical expertise, but what are those hobbies or activities that you enjoy outside of your work, and how they help you to stay inspired and motivated?
Yeah, we live in an age where we're constantly connected, even if we're not on our laptops or our work system where we have three monitors of data being pumped
Yes.
at us all day long. Some days I can easily be sitting here for 12 hours working my regular job, and then a couple hours after that, because I'm writing a new IT Jungle article, or I'm doing preparing for class. It's constant. So I really enjoy just being in the woods, to be able to just sit in the woods and observe nature, and just not be connected for a while.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good advice. Like if you are working for a very long time with your systems and electronic gadgets, it's better to stay away at least for some time, so that you can improve your visibility and many other things. Your Yeah, that's a good thing. So thank you once
Yeah,
again, Gregory, for joining us in this episode and for taking out time and to discuss so many things about the modernization and the IBMI platform. So thank you, and I hope you also enjoyed the discussion.
I did. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.